Okay, this is the first page of the file, and it starts with a farmer in the winter of 1922 finding footprints in the fresh snow. They came out of the forest and walked right up to his house. Creepy, but it's not as terrifying. This is the terrifying part. There was no footprints leading back out from his house. So, either someone walked up to his house and just vanished into the thin air, or they're still inside. And 4 days later, everyone who lived there, all 6 of them, died. Dead. And whoever did it, they didn't run. They stayed there for 3 days. And that's just the first page. What's up, guys? I'm Sketch, and this is case file number 1. And I read this whole thing last night alone, which was a bad idea because halfway through I got terrified and I closed it. And I tried to go to bed. That didn't work out. So I decided to man up and open it back up. And now I'm reading it to you guys. So you're welcome. Fair warning, there is one part I'm not gonna read out loud, and you'll know which one when I get there. But let's keep going. So first, the file lays out where this happened. A place called Hinterkaifeck, and it's not even a town, it's just one lonely farm, way out in the German countryside. Nearest neighbors were a walk through the trees into the forest. There's no phone, no streetlights. It's just them in the woods and in the dark. 6 people lived here. It was Andreas Gruber. He was 63, and he was the head of the house. He ran the place, you know. His wife, Kaisila, she was 72. And their grown daughter, Victoria, she was 35. And she had 2 kids. It was little Kaisila, and she was 7. They named her after her grandma. And Joseph, the baby, who was 2 years old. And then there was a brand new maid named Maria, who was 44. Now, this is a detail that got me. Maria, she showed up to the farm that same day, and it was her first shift. She'd only been there a few hours. Just hold on to that one. It sits worse while we get through the file. And there's also one more note before we go back in time. This was not a happy home. The Grubers were not liked around town, and there were some dark rumors about this family. Rumors the police would end up taking very seriously. But we'll get there. But first, the file rewinds to 2 weeks before, when the warnings started to show up. About 6 months earlier, the family's old maid quit. Just walked off the farm. And the reason is right here. She kept hearing footsteps in the attic. No source, no explanation. She decided the place was haunted. And she left. And honestly, smart move. That's a whole horror movie in one decision. And if I'm on that farm and the attic starts walking around by itself, I don't need a mystery. I think I need a moving truck. Which is exactly why I would be very useless on this case. Anyway, because a few months later, whatever she heard came back. And this time, it left proof. Because in March 1922, Andreas finds a newspaper on his property from the city. Nobody in the house bought it. Nobody nearby even subscribed to it. It kind of just showed up. And that's the moment where this stops being a ghost story. Because ghosts don't read the news. And if it's a newspaper, it means it's a person. And somebody was out there. Close. And then, according to this file, the house key goes missing. Just gone. No one knows where. And then the footprints. The same ones from the start. They start from the forest and they lead all the way to the farm's little machine room, where the lock was already broken. Leading in, never out. And that's the second time now. And that same night, the whole family hears it. Footsteps in the attic. So, Andres grabs the light and goes up to check. He finds no one. Okay, I don't even want to explain why that's bad because you get it, right? No one doesn't mean no one's up there. It means they're still up there. You just have no idea where. And after that, that's when I shut the folder. And that's when I tried to go to bed, but that didn't work out. So I opened it back up. So you're welcome again. And this is the next section. This is the night where all 6 of them died. The weapon was a mattock. It's a heavy farming tool, kind of like a pickaxe, but it's based on where everyone was found. So the investigators think that the victims were led out to the barn, a couple at a time. And this is the part where I told you about that I wasn't going to explain. The file goes into detail here about what happened to that barn, and I read it. And I'm not going to read it back to you guys. Not a some bit, probably because you're going to wish I never read it to you. So, whatever you thinking happened in that barn, I can assure you that it's a lot nicer than what actually happened. So, I'm going to leave it shut, and I can leave that up to your imagination. But there's one detail from that night that the investigators carried with them for their entire lives. And that enough is for me to not want to find out. 4 of them were found outside the barn, and 2, the baby, Joseph and Maria, were in the house. And the file does this thing that still doesn't make sense to me. Because for 3 days, that farm kept running. The neighbors, they saw smoke coming out the chimney. The cattle got fed. They were healthy, taken care of. The food, it was eaten. Fresh meat was cut from the pantry. The bread, it was eaten, gone. Make that make sense. If you put me on this case, I probably would have cracked it open and, hey, there's the killer. It's in the house, obviously. But I wouldn't go in there. I'd leave immediately. But that's the thing. The killer didn't panic. He didn't run. He essentially moved in. He sat by their fire, ate at their table, did the morning chores like it was just another day. And that's what actually gets me. Panic. I'd understand that he was calm. He was comfortable. Might be the scariest thing of this entire file. That he showed no reaction to killing all 6 of them. And just continued to this day. So, who finally realized that something was wrong? And why did it take so many days? Well, that's the next report. But before I do that, I'm going to lock my door. Because I'm getting kind of scared again. Anyway. So, by April 4th, things had started piling up. 7-year-old Casilla started not showing up to school. The family missed church twice. Their mail was stacking up, and the new maid never wrote home, like she said she would. They stepped into the silent house and found exactly what 3 days would do to a place that should have been full of life. Yeah, I'd probably stay out there because the neighbors went inside. But let's keep going. One of the guys did go in. And this is his name in the next file. And he's about to become the center of attention in this whole mystery. His name was Lorenz Schlitzenbauer. Hopefully I said that right. And before I say another word, this file clearly is going to be very, very intriguing. He was investigated, but he was never charged with anything. He was never convicted. He even won the court case against the people that called him the killer. So everything is about to be laid out on why people thought that. Not proof. The jury knows why. So, let's go with the first reason. When the neighbors showed up, the farm was locked, but Schlichtenbauer got through the doors no problem. He seemed to know his way around the place a little too well. Now, reason two, while everybody else stood frozen in shock, he just started moving the bodies. He said he was looking for his little son, Joseph. And that's the connection that the files makes. Schlichtenbauer was Victoria's lover, and he was the father of the baby Joseph. And later people claimed that he said things about it last night that only the killer could have said. And man, I want that to be the answer. It's clean, it fits, it makes sense. And if I believe that, I could sleep tonight. But think about it. You flip it around and it's a father running into that house, tearing through the worst thing that he's ever seen, trying to find his baby boy. I don't think that's a killer. I think that's just a dad in a nightmare. And that this whole case, in one sentence, every crew looks guilty as an innocent person just sitting there, right next to it. And then there's the last part of the file, the motive. It handles this carefully, and I guess I will too. This family had a really dark history, something involving Andreas and his own daughter. There were convictions on his record. I'm not going to spell it out, but you could probably guess what I mean. I'm sorry it goes there, but the short version is this house was hiding something ugly. And secrets like that give people a reason to want everyone to know about them. And the last note in this section, the night before the murders, Victoria supposedly ran out of that house after a violent fight with her father. So, now we've got a weapon, we have a scene, we have motives. 100 years to work with, you think that'd be easy to figure out, right? Simple. So, here's what the file can actually tell us for sure. 6 people, 1 night, 1 Maddock, 1 killer. He stayed there for 3 days. There's footprints leading into the house, but never leading out. And the murder weapon, it turned up years later when they tore the farm down. It was hidden in the attic. The attic where the footsteps first came from. Where this whole thing started. Yeah. I sat with that one for a while. But here's what the file can't tell us. Who and why? There was over 100 people questioned. The case got reopened for decades. The last interrogations were in 1986 and in 2007, when a team went back and reran the whole thing with modern methods. They say they finally reached a conclusion, and then they refused to say the name out of respect for that person's name and their family. And just that's how the file ends. 100+ years, over 100 suspects, and the stamp on the front of this folder says unsolved. And look, I know what you're thinking. Hey, Sketch, if you've been there, it would be close, bro. I would have figured it out. But as I said before, the first signs of footsteps, I'm out of there. So I'm not going to be on this case. So somebody walked out of that forest, walked into the house, and on paper, they never walked back out. So who was up there? The neighbor? The family's own past coming back to collect? Someone no file ever named? I've got a theory of my own, but I want yours. So drop it in the comments, because you guys probably will catch stuff I miss all the time. Hey, but don't judge me if you can't sleep tonight. But anyway, I'm Sketch, and that was case 1, and I'll see you guys in the next file, because I'm not going to open this one back up. Subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.